What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Let's get into UFC 276. This is going to be a quick breakdown video on the main card fights. Let's get into them. Alright, so quickly talking about the card, we have Pedro Munhoz versus Sean O'Malley. We got Robbie Lawler versus Bryan Barberena. We got Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira. Really interested in that one. We got Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway 3. We got Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonnier. That's a good one. So I got my notes. Let's start with Pedro Munhoz versus Sugar Sean O'Malley. All right, so in this fight, I actually favor Sean O'Malley. I think O'Malley's footwork, the way he kind of like freestyles on the feet, his fluidity standing is going to be an issue for Pedro Munhoz, as well as like his reach and length, and he's really good at using his reach. Now the thing with O'Malley is, yes, he's kind of unpredictable standing. Yes, he kind of freestyles, but he's actually really technical. It's a little bit deceptive because you think this guy is, wild on the feet, not very technical, but that's incorrect. He's constantly reading you, throwing feints. With those feints, he's reading your reactions, and he's setting you up. He sets traps on the feet, 100%. And it's like, Sean O'Malley has power, but I think his knockouts come more from catching guys right on the button, especially when they're not expecting it. And that'll put you out just as quick as a hard punch that you see coming. As a matter of fact, I think more so. Now, this is just my opinion, but I think Sean O'Malley is one of the more impressive strikers in the UFC. All right, Pedro Munhoz, black belt in BJJ. He does have submissions on his resume. Dangerous on the ground, no doubt. Sean O'Malley, I'm not sure what belt ranking he is in BJJ, straight Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think he's a purple belt. But at this point, he's savvy enough and skilled enough that I think going to the ground with Pedro Munhoz is not really going to be a big deal for him. Now, I'm not saying an extended amount of time. I'm just saying that Sean O'Malley is skilled enough to be able to stifle kind of what Pedro Munhoz does on the ground. I don't really see Sean O'Malley getting tapped out. I think he can do good work off his back. I think he'll stay busy enough, landing little pop shots, trying to land elbows, trying to scramble back up. And like I said, I know he's been working hard on his ground game, and I think he's good enough to hang with Munhoz on the ground for a little bit. That's an avenue that Pedro Munhoz might be able to exploit, but can he get the fight to the mat? Probably not. Sean O'Malley's long, man. He's long, he's tall. Looks like he has good hips. Those tall, lanky guys with good hips, they're a pain in the butt to take down. Not to mention he has great footwork, so good luck catching him, getting a hold of him to even get him to the mat. Now going back to Pedro Munhoz. Great low kicks, great chopping low kicks. I think he should chop at Sugar Sean O'Malley's legs. Now, I know O'Malley, he gets annoyed. He gets annoyed when people mention leg kicks in him. He doesn't think it's a weakness with him, but being completely honest, I think it is a chink in the armor. Not a major weakness, but it's something to attack with him. He's already had multiple leg injuries. Yeah, Munhoz should definitely chop at his legs. It's going to slow him down. If you damage O'Malley's legs, it's going to slow him down. It's going to take away some of his footwork. And his footwork is a big part of his game, man. A lot of striking has to do with your legs and footwork. In this fight, honestly, I see O'Malley staying on the outside, picking his shots, using his range and reach well. I think he's going to dance circles around Pedro Munhoz. Not saying that Munhoz has no chance on the feet because he hits hard. He's heavy-handed. But I think he's going to have a hard time. He's going to have a hard time touching O'Malley's chin with O'Malley's movement and his footwork again. And Munhoz has short arms. It's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough. I look at it like this. If Dominic Cruz, which is an all-time great, granted, but if Dominic Cruz can have success with his style with constant movement, pop shot in Pedro Munhoz, I think Sean O'Malley could do the same thing. Possibly even better because he has a longer reach. And I think O'Malley's really good at staying on the outside, landing on guys. So final pick for me, definitely going with Sean O'Malley. Maybe via stoppage, but Pedro Munhoz is tough. I don't know. I'm just going to go with O'Malley in general. All right, moving on. Robbie Lawler, the legend, versus Bryan Barberena. This one should be a banger. Prime Robbie Lawler, all day, all day. Lawler is a savage on the feet, powerhouse, power puncher for the most part. Really seasoned mixed martial arts striker, been around forever. Great chin, underrated defensive wrestling, training with those Iowa boys, the Militich camp from way back. Yeah, he got some deep roots in wrestling and grappling, man. Lawler's a dog, man. He's a dog. He could take a shot, tough as hell. One of the toughest to ever do it, honestly. Never really seen Robbie Lawler have a cardio issue. One of the greats in my opinion. Far from average fighter. But that's talking a little bit more so on prime Robbie Lawler. Present day Lawler, in his last 5 fights, he's won once. And that was against a very rusty Nick Diaz. Bryan Barberena, bruiser. Plods forward, tries to land power shots. Heavy-handed, not a lot of head movement. Seems to rely on his chin a lot. Likes to take one to give one. Barberena likes to throw like a lot of looping shots. Leaves himself open quite a bit. But he throws punches like that to get around, somebody's guard and land on them. It's effective, but it's a gamble. Good thing he has a great chin. But the guy gets hit a lot. Going back to Robbie Lawler, Robbie got a good jab when he uses it. I think Robbie does his best work on the inside where he can land hooks, uppercuts, get up in the clinch, dirty box, land uppercuts in the clinch, hold the back of a guy's head. This fight, to me, honestly, it's a toss-up. For where Robbie Lawler is in his career and Bryan Barberena's skill set and where he's at, I think it's a matter of like who lands first and hardest. But I'm going to give the nod to the vet. I'm going to go with Robbie Lawler. Bryan Barberena gets hit a lot. I think eventually he's going to catch up to him. It might be this fight. Who knows? Maybe Barberena catches Lawler early. Maybe he just gets him out of there, walks him down. Especially where Robbie's at right now. But once again, going with the vet. Maybe Robbie got his confidence back a little bit, beating Nick Diaz, Stella got a groove back. Lawler got his groove back. We'll see. Going with Robbie Lawler again. All right, Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira. This one I'm super excited about. Of course, Alex Pereira is one of the few guys to beat Israel Adesanya. It wasn't kickboxing, though. But he got a couple of wins. It means something. But once again, that was in kickboxing. Mixed martial arts is different than kickboxing. But talking about Strickland versus Alex Pereira, man, I think most people are thinking that Pereira's going to straight up dominate Sean Strickland on the feet. I'm not so sure. Man. Strickland is very comfortable standing. He got some pretty good boxing. He hits hard. He's got a pretty phenomenal jab. He knows how to use it well. And I remember I did a breakdown for this, and I talked about how effective I think Strickland's jab is going to be. And in the comments, guys are like, how's a simple jab going to stop one of the best strikers to ever enter the UFC? You've seen it time and time again. You've seen amazing strikers somehow lose striking battles in mixed martial arts with against simple techniques, man. Look at Dan Henderson. How many people has Dan Henderson starts just with the right hand? Now, granted, Dan Henderson had the grappling and wrestling threat. He had the H-bomb. That right hand was a son of a bitch. Strickland doesn't have that kind of power, but he has other tools, Sean Strickland, this has been talked about, and I think the cat's out of the bag. He has apparently good grappling, underrated grappling. And if he can manage to get Alex Pereira down, that may be troublesome for him. And if he does it once, it could get into Pereira's head. And Pereira may be tentative, maybe, very focused on not getting taken down again, and it could affect his striking. I think Strickland has to close the distance, man. I know his style is typically to sit on the outside and pump that jab, but I don't think that's going to necessarily work against Alex Pereira early in the fight. I think it's going to be effective a little bit into the fight, but you got to wear on Pereira a little bit, try to dirty box with him, rush him, get him against the cage, cut him off. Because if you let him sit on the outside with those long limbs, those elbows, those knees, those punches, those kicks, he's going to do work on you. You have to put him at an uncomfortable pace, get in his face. We saw Pereira's last opponent do that and have success. Striking advantage on the feet, definitely. You got to give it to Alex Pereira. But I think Strickland got some tricks up his sleeve, man, especially in the MMA realm. He's very tough. He has way more experience than Alex Pereira in mixed martial arts. That means something. I mean, way more experience. These guys could get in there and Pereira could straight up dismantle Sean Strickland. And it shouldn't be a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise. This dude is a highly decorated kickboxer, dual weight champion, Glory, if I'm not mistaken. One of the best strikers to ever grace the octagon, to be honest. But again, this ain't kickboxing. Strickland could make this into a dirty dogfight. He looks very good at that. We saw Sean Strickland walk down another dynamic striker that's very diverse on the feet in Uriah Hall. Is Alex Pereira Uriah Hall? No, of course not. Way better striker. But can Strickland have success on the feet? Yes, he can. With everything that is involved with mixed martial arts, yes. I'm actually picking Sean Strickland based on experience, based on his toughness, his uncanny ability to walk guys down. I also think Strickland has some pretty decent defense. He rolls with punches really well. Yeah. Unpopular pick, but kind of a gut thing. I think I'm going with Sean Strickland. We'll see. I'm super curious. Now, if Pereira destroys Sean Strickland, damn, things have gotten really interesting. You'll want to see Adesanya versus Pereira in the octagon, for sure. Let's see what happens. Final pick, Sean Strickland. All right, Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway 3. These guys are doing it again. Now, arguably, I think most people think that, well, maybe not most people, but a lot of people think that Holloway won the last fight. These guys are very evenly matched. It's always going to be a competitive fight. Who's going to win this one? I mean, it's hard not to lean towards Alexander Volkanovski. You know, I feel like Volkanovski really knows Holloway's game well. He knows how to kind of neutralize him on the feet. And you would think that Holloway would piece up Volkanovski, man. He's got the height and reach on him. I think he has a longer reach. But man, Alex, high fight IQ, you know, high fight IQ, very good striker, regardless of like his height and reach. He just finds a way to find holes, man. He just lands on people, picks them apart. Very well-rounded as well. Volkanovski got an awesome low kicks. Very effective against Holloway. Holloway did well in the second fight, though. Holloway got his leg out of the way, checked some kicks. He did way better in the leg kick department. That really hurt him in the first fight. I feel like Holloway was thinking that he could just eat those. You know, it was quite evident in the first fight, and it hurt him. It hurt him in that fight. Smartened up for the second, performed a lot better, especially early on. Then Volkanovski started to kind of take over. And I feel like, you know, he stole that fight from Max. That's that guy's toughness, man. That's his grit, his refusal to lose. We saw it in the Ortega fight. Who gets out of those subs, you know, with Brian Ortega? Nobody. Some of that was technique. Most of that was like heart and just stubbornness. He just didn't want to lose or get tapped out. In this fight, I don't know. It's close, man. It's close. It could go either way again. I think I'm leaning towards Volkanovski. But it wouldn't shock me if Max Holloway puts on a hell of a performance and tweaks some things, which I think he was on the right track in the second fight, man. He was avoiding those leg kicks, checking them. He was staying out of the danger zone with Volkanovski. You know, if you battle in the pocket with Alex, he's a very powerful featherweight. You got to play it safe with him. You got to just stay on the outside, land your jab, be elusive, constantly move. Volkanovski has great cardio and conditioning. You can't let him catch up to you, man. You can't, because he will take the fight over. Final pick. Damn, man. Love Max. But I have to be unbiased. I think I'm leaning towards Volkanovski, but super close. 55-45. I think Volkanovski's confidence is at an all-time high. Not to say Max lacks confidence, but the performance that Volkanovski had against Korean Zombie, damn, like who does that to Korean Zombie? If you ask me my pick in an hour, maybe I'll go with Holloway. Right now, sticking with Alexander Volkanovski via decision. I really don't see him finishing Holloway. I think it's going to be a little bit more of the same. Holloway landing volume, Volkanovski landing maybe the more significant strikes, the more damaging strikes, power shots, low kicks. The grappling to me is kind of a wash, although I could see Volkanovski having a lot of success on top, you know, if he gets top position. Going with Volkanovski via decision. All right, main event fight. Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonnier. It's a good one. It's a good one. I don't necessarily think that Cannonnier brings something to the table that Adesanya hasn't seen per se, because he's fought the big, powerful bruisers, power punchers. He's had major success against them. I think Cannonnier more so hasn't fought somebody like Adesanya, but that doesn't mean that Jared Cannonnier doesn't have a chance to win, because he does. I mean, the guy is like stupid strong and powerful. If he lands on you, it could be a wrap. With Adesanya, if he gets top position, if he manages to get Izzy down, he could elbow his face through the mat, and that could be a wrap. We saw what he did to Brunson. That was insanity. It was very reminiscent of what Romero did to Machida. Brutal. I think on the feet, Adesanya, of course, is more skilled, more fluid, offers more standing, but Jared is very dangerous. Yes, he doesn't have that flowy, super light on his foot style like a Adesanya. But for being such a strong, powerful striker, Cannonnier, he also doesn't necessarily plod forward. He's explosive and he's quick. See, a guy like Costa plods forward more. So does Vettori. So Adesanya has to be careful because Jared covers distance really well. And he could also get out of range pretty quick. He's an explosive guy, man. He's athletic and he's strong as hell. Izzy has to definitely avoid clinch scenarios. He can't let Jared get a hold of him because Jared looks absurdly strong in the clinch. And also, if he's that close to being in a clinch with him, he could get a body lock on Israel, scoop him up, dump him on the mat, and Jared on top of you, top position, raining down ground and pound and elbows. Not good. In this fight, I'm expecting Izzy to win. I think Izzy's gonna dance around, stand on the outside, do what he does. He knows how to deal with power punchers and strikers. What he did to Costa was insane. He just straight up dismantled Paulo Costa. And even though Costa and Cannonnier are different fighters, kind of got different styles, there's some similarities. And if Izzy could do that to Costa, he could do that to Cannonnier possibly. But I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I don't. I think Jared's too tough. He's too strong. He's too determined. I don't see like a first round shutout. I think this fight's gonna drag out a bit. Cannonnier is very capable of knocking Israel Adesanya out. It could happen. How likely is it? In my opinion, not very likely. I think Izzy's very aware of what Jared brings to the table. I think he's going to play it safe. I think he's going to sit on the outside. As safe as he did with Romero, I don't know. Hope not. But I can see him fighting smart, kind of like what he did with Vettori. Leg kicks, mix it up on the feet, use those long legs, low kicks, kicks to the body, head kicks when the opening's there. Keep Jared guessing, use that jab. Feints. The funny thing is I see Jared throwing feints as well. This one's interesting because I think the fight could take place standing and on the ground. I think Jared could take Israel Adesanya down. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I think it's possible. And if the fight hits the mat, what's going to happen there? We saw Izzy survive Jan Blachowicz, but Jan Blachowicz isn't Jared Cannonnier. They got a different style. Jared Cannonnier lands some vicious ground and pound. His elbows are disgusting. I don't like Izzy on his back with Jared Cannonnier on top of him dropping elbows. That's not going to be good. But pick for this fight, I'm going with Adesanya. I think Adesanya is going to potentially outclass Jared on the feet, be too quick, offer too much on the feet standing. The footwork, Izzy's very smart at not getting his back against the cage, not letting guys cut him off, taking center command. Jared's going to have to cut him off. He's going to have to cut the cage off on him, try to clinch with him, land shots in the clinch. He looks really strong in the clinch again. I can see opportunity for uppercuts, hooks, and elbows. He's going to be physically stronger than Izzy, no doubt. Cutting him off, getting him in the clinch, It's going to be helpful with scoring takedowns because he can use that strength. He could try to bully Adesanya down. And I think he's going to have more of an advantage on the ground than standing, to be honest with you. If Jared takes Izzy down, it might be very problematic for Adesanya. Dragging this out, final pick, Israel Adesanya. Maybe stoppage, probably decision. We'll see what happens. You guys let me know in the comment section. What do you think about these matchups? Who takes these fights and why? Appreciate you guys watching this segment. If this is your first time at the channel and you enjoy the content, consider hitting that subscribe button, like and share. Appreciate that. I'll catch you guys in the next segment. Enjoy the fights. After they take place, we'll come back and talk about them as usual. Until then, guys, take care.